Hi, I'm Tom with Wilcraft. We're here in the Northwest Metro Lake, and I want to introduce you to the Mammoth. It is our latest model that we've developed, and just launched it here in December of 24. So we'd like to show you all the features and benefits and differences between this and some of our prior models. All right. I'm now in the Wilcraft, so the first thing that I want to do is flip on the switch that turns on the auxiliary power. The outlets, the pan optics, and most importantly, this time of year, the heater. The heater takes a few minutes to cycle up, so that's the first thing that I want to do. So I flip on the switch, power up the heater, and let that start cycling up. And I'm going to start the machine, and we're going to back it out of the trailer. Okay, we're at the rear of the Wilcraft Mammoth. We up the horsepower on this model to 40 horse. We have tandem pumps, hydro gear, variable displacement pumps. It's an internal spline shaft on the engine. That's why we went with this one. There's no belts, no pulleys. The pump is plugged right in with a 13-tooth spline shaft. They're stroked simultaneously, so they're both running at the same speed, the same output. But there is a orifice between them, so they're timed ever so slightly side to side. The aluminum tank is the cooler for the hydraulic system, and then we also have an additional cooler in front of that. We're running motor oil in the hydraulic systems. We're running 5W30 full synthetic motor oil. It gives us a lot better cold weather behavior. It stays very viscous at very cold weather as opposed to more of the hydraulic fluids. And they're very good at dispersing the high level heat as well. The filtration system for the hydraulics is right to the left of the pump. We made the oil change of the engine very convenient as well. There's a drain for the engine oil. Underneath the engine is a watertight pod as well. Call it the buoyancy pod. And that is half filled with 2-part marine foam. Inside the entire machine, we have a lot of positive buoyancy as well. Underneath the floor system, there's 2 inches of foam. In the raised curbs, that's also filled with closed cell foam. So even if the machine was swamped, there's still plenty of positive buoyancy to keep it probably 50% buoyant. A lot of safety features. We're running 32 by 15 rear tires. We're running them at 3 psi, so very low pressure, very light footprint on the ice. They'll kind of concave a bit, so give you a lot of snow flotation. The tires on this do an incredible job through snow and slush. I spoke with a customer yesterday who runs various equipment out on the ice, and he's on the east side of Lake Erie in Michigan. Is that Lake Erie or is that Lake Michigan? One or the other. But they get the lake effect snows, and he said it's always slushy, and what this machine does is absolutely incredible compared to all the other vehicles that he takes out there. So it was a bit of very interesting news. But I digress. Underneath the pod is where the gas tank is. The filler, it's a 5-gallon tank. There is a mechanical gauge that's visible back here, but we also have a sending unit, and there's a gauge on the dashboard as well. Now around to the front end of the Mammoth, there's some significant difference between this and our prior models. First of all, you can see the suspension. We have fully independent A-arm suspension. There's a fair amount of travel there. The high output LED light bar. With the Mammoth, the heater comes standard, so we've got a reservoir for the heater. The windshield, as we mentioned, stays in place. It can be removed if you want to take it out in the summertime. The whole top can come off with just a few bolts. We've got a very heavy-duty bar. It's at about waist high, so if you ever do need to jockey it around by hand, you've got a good angle of approach. On the front, we upsized the front tires as well. We're running 25 by 8s by 12s. Gives us a little bit more ability through some of the deeper snow. Another thing that you'll notice on the canvas is all the windows have insulated shades. The glass itself is velcroed in, so you can vent, you can replace, you can remove. Okay, so a common question we get is how much snow it'll go through. The machine raises and lowers, so fully up, you have about 12 inches of ground clearance. The tires, as we talked about, were incredibly massive, giving you tremendous flotation on snow and slush. And so 12 to 14 inches, generally not a problem. After that, it's going to depend on the snow, but it's a very capable machine, again, based on the ground clearance, the flat bottom of the hull, because you can purposely high center and slide over plow ridges and pressure ridges and snowbanks, and the tires will push you up and over. Okay, so the biggest difference between our prior models and the Mammoth is we're now driving forward. So the steering, the foot control on the directional forwards and backwards, and a full dashboard. We have the interior lights over here. That's powered with the auxiliary battery, along with the heater, the power outlets, a USB, and a 12-volt standard power outlet, cigarette lighter. We've got a fuel gauge for that auxiliary battery. And then as we move to the left of the panel, all these switches are powered by the start battery in the back. We've got the headlights, we've got a 4-wheel drive on-off control, and now we have the lift system. The front and the rear, they operate independently. With this geometry, we can drive it in pretty much any elevation. Ideally, when you come off the trailer, off and on onto the lake, you want to bring it all the way up, get as much ground clearance as you can. And then as soon as you're on the lake, you want to drop her down halfway. That does 3 things for you. First of all, it allows you to set up so much faster. Your fishing holes are off to the side, 2 on each side. With it a little ways up, you can run your auger through the fishing hole. All the slush stays underneath, and then you can drop the body a couple inches. So by traveling half elevation, you're moving the body just a couple inches, saving saving a few minutes each time you set up, as opposed to going full elevation up, full elevation down each time. Secondly, if you do happen to break through, the machine does float. And if you break through on a sideways level, all the way up, you're going to have a pretty severe pitch. But as you bring the machine down, you break through sideways, it's a lot less of a pitch. So increased safety. And thirdly, a little self-preservation of the machine. Fully up, the tires are low. And if you run into a pressure ridge, crack, whatever, you're going to protect some of that tire by the body setting down before the tire disappears into the crack. We'll fire it up. Increase our engine RPMs to about half, 3/4. Foot control, go forward. We're out on the lake, and we dipped it in here for just a couple minutes. You can feel how warm it is already. The heater got fired up. Took a few minutes for it to get up the temperature. So now with the force there, warming up the air, we can almost probably take our jackets off. It's comfortable now. I'll do that right now. I like fishing in a sweatshirt versus a jacket. And then we'll head out a little further. We'll drill a few holes. The next thing I'll do, or actually the first thing that I'll do, I'll power up my live scope. This is GPS as well as sonar, if you will. And I've got a few spots marked. But if that's powering up, we'll continue out. So we're in about 18 feet of water. We'll pop a few holes, we'll drop the pan optics down, we'll see what's underneath us, and decide if we want to stay or we want to move. So when you get to your spot, remove your bucket plug. It's a plug as well as a place to store stuff. It's got a neoprene gasket. Glue it to the bucket. That provides a watertight seal, as well as a place to put your equipment, tackle, bait, catch of the day. We have the hull dropped to about 6 inches off the ice, far enough up where all the slush will stay underneath the body, but close enough that we can get all the way through the ice. All right, so I've got my Garmin set up in sonar mode. We're going to drop our transducer into the hole to see what we have underneath us. I'm going to bring the body down a little further. And I see the line. I'm going to have to extend the pole a little bit because we're not through the bottom of the ice yet. Haven't seen that for a few years. All right, so we're about 18 feet of water. We can see a few things along the bottom. So at this point in time, we can probably drop a line down just to see what's down there. So we laid out the Mammoth, so it's really, really efficient to set up and to move from spot to spot. I have my rods in a holder that are vertical, easy to grab, easy to select. As you saw, the auger and the Panoptix pole are vertical. Very few motions to get set up. You see a few things along the bottom. So we're going to drop down and see if we can find out what's down there. Adjusting. I also have the left hole where the Panoptix pole is moved as far forward as we could. So what that allows us to do is we're fishing here, but I can easily just reach to my left side and rotate the Panoptix pole to get directions, to scan around, see if there's any fish that are suspended anywhere. All I see right now is a few just hugging the bottom. So we'll drop our bait down and see if we can find it, see if we have any action. All right, so we can see some fish down there, but they're not very active. We're not listening any response from my offering. So we're just gonna move over a few yards. We'll put the plugs back in the hole because you never know. The machine has to have the holes plugged if you want it to float. We'll pull up the Panoptix pole. And we'll secure that into place. We'll drop this pail in. We'll start up the engine. And we're going to raise it up a little bit so we can travel to our next spot. rear, front. You change our pan optics back to charts. You can get a better idea of how deep of water we're in. Bring up our engine RPM a bit. And off we go. So we upgraded the driver's seat. We now have it on a slide, so you can position it where it's comfortable to you. We can also change the elevation of it as well, making it much more comfortable to drive as well as to fish for a long period of time. So another creature comfort in the Wilcraft, you have to have lighting. The best fishing is at sunset. Running off the auxiliary battery that was used to run the power outlets and the heater and your electronics if you want. We also have an LED light strip mounted. Very bright, takes very little power. So the 50 amp hour lithium battery has enough power to run your lights, your heater, your electronics for a good 10-12 hours.